Daver here. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm Chad.
And Chandler's back as well. How we doing, Dave?
Oh, we're doing it so beautifully. Good episode of Dynamite coming at us from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. That's where Jim Ross is from, Oklahoma.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
was a hot crowd. Ooh, boy, did that really help the matches. I mean, they were great matches, but it really made it feel like a must-see episode of Dynamite just because that crowd was so intense.
I gotta say, with Jim Ross not being around very often with his illness, when he is there and healthy, it really added to the experience for the main event. Uh, I think that would be perfect for using him. Main event, Dynamite, Collision, and then the main event of pay-per-views. That's all we need. His contract is about to be up too, so I think they should iron that out, get him back, make it count when he actually shows up.
Yeah, it's great. It's
Yeah.
like if they use him sparingly, he sounded great. He had lots of energy. He had good input. I think it was like when he was on there full time, he was definitely kind of wasn't good for him because he by the end he sounded pretty burnout and didn't really care.
Yeah. I definitely got that nostalgia feel with him being there for
Mm-hmm.
Dynamite. Uh, so yeah, good hot crowd, like you said, Chandler. Uh, Swerve had the crowd in the palm of his hand. It's definitely Swerve's house there in Oklahoma City.
I wrote down
Yeah,
somewhere, I was like, this isn't even Seattle. Like, what the hell is going on with this? This makes no sense, but I'm here for it.
uh, yeah, we're going with it's officially a meteoric rise going on with Swerve right now. He is rocket to the back to the moon, baby.
What do you, what do you think? A
So
little bit of a tease for later on. We'll talk about it more. But what do you think? Swerve MJF going to be the feud of 2024?
If it
yeah,
happens, have you heard MGF still hasn't re-signed with AEW supposedly? So,
I don't think no one knows the truth
mhm.
really.
Yeah, I don't think if he was, I don't think if he wasn't intending on signing though, they wouldn't be starting a feud like that.
Maybe they're like dangling all this stuff like you'll have a great match with Wardlow, a great match with whoever the devil is, a great match with Swerve, and then that'll lead MGF to make his call, I don't know, on December 30th or whatever. But we'll see when we get there. We want to get started onto the show.
Yeah, absolutely. They started right off the bat, no intro. We're right into wrestling. I'm really liking that format. Continental Classic, Gold League match, one that I've really been waiting patiently for. Swerve Strickland with 9 points going into it with a kind of an upset loss to John Moxley. And we got Roosh with 6 points coming into it. Um, yeah, definitely crowd behind Swerve. A lot of really loud chops throughout the match. You can count on that with Roosh, any Roosh match. Yeah, really great mat wrestling, some good chain wrestling early on. And I've had an epiphany that I think my favorite style of wrestling is good chain mat wrestling. Watching that really gets me going. So yeah, we got a little bit of that in the beginning. Roosh dives on the outside onto Swerve. His leg ends up kind of getting hurt. We get Roosh kicking Swerve in the face, doing his pose. But Swerve must have had that scouted because he literally jumped immediately up into a Juji Katami onto Roosh. Um yeah, really innovative offense. We get a power slam to Swerve for a 2 later on. Swerve goes after Rush's hurt leg, kind of focusing on that. We get Rush flipping Swerve onto the apron, then slamming Swerve into the barricades around the ring. Uh, we get back-to-back release German suplexes. Then we get simultaneous rolling elbow strikes and pump kicks. Both men go down for a 6 count. Uh, then we got Roosh going for the bull's horns, but his hurt leg can't take the pressure. It gives out. We get a half crab into a stretch muffler to Roosh. More really loud chops. Straight jacket pile driver for a 2 count on a Swerve out of nowhere. More chops on the apron. We get Roosh doing a belly-to-belly suplex on Swerve on the floor. Really bad landing. Looked painful. We get a 2 count from that. Um, I wrote down there was a "I love QTV" sign in the crowd at this point.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
why?
Why would
Why?
you bring that to a show, man? There was another, did you see the I wish I was at Nitro sign, Dave?
No.
You did it?
Ooh,
It was really close
no.
to I think okay, so I didn't notice it until about 30 minutes in, but there was literally a sign that said I'd rather be watching Nitro or I wish this was Nitro or something like that. So
Well, yeah, yeah, I don't mind that. Uh, after I noticed that sign, Roosh missed a senton onto Swerve. Swerve hit a 450 splash for only a 1 count. What a badass. We get a brainbuster to Roosh for a 2 count. House call to Roosh. Then he gets up to the top rope. The crowd comes unglued for Swerve. We get a Swerve stomp for the win. Man, yeah, he needed that. Uh, yeah, great match. Tons of violence, brutality. Uh, both men came out looking like $1,000,000. Even though Roosh didn't end up winning, he looked great. Yeah, no complaints.
I think for me, I was just stunned that Roosh took a clean loss. I think I wasn't expecting it. And so for him to just not kick out and that's it, Roosh is out of the tournament. I was like, oh, okay, alrighty. Well, I'll take it. I love Swerve. But I think my favorite part of that match was right as Swerve hit that 450. You know, Roosh had that big kick out of one. It's like he was offended by that. He's like, you're not gonna beat me by some flippy move. I'm Roosh. And so I just thought that was really fun. What's funny is, despite the fact like how much I love Swerve, this is my third favorite Continental Classic match of the night.
Yeah, yeah. Mm, the entrances, both those guys look like $1,000,000. Like Swerve just had that newfound presence he's been developing. I was like, that he looks like a big deal. Then Roosh came out and he had the big crazy robe on. I was like, whoa. It was a great way to start the show. Like reminds me like when AEW first came out, their first match was always super hot. They never had commercials during the first match ever. It was similar kind of feeling where you're like, oh yeah, you're in for a good night now. So
Mhm.
yeah, was super jazzed and it was a great start to the show. The whole show ended up being pretty phenomenal, I thought. So yeah, they did a good job setting the stage. In fact, I had a pretty hard time picking a low point for later tonight.
I have one, but we'll get to it. It wasn't like egregious. It wasn't like last week with the Golden Jet segment, but I thought it was like pretty. I thought it jumped the shark for a story we've had, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Um, After the match, we get a kind of an explanation of kind of some stipulations with John Moxley and Swerve and Jay White. Um, it was weird. My feed gave out during that. They had the little AEW logo down in the corner, but I don't really know what exactly they were trying to get across.
There was a lot of
So it
production issues for this episode. I wrote him down every time I kind of
True.
saw him. I'll get into him later, but again, I watch on Fight TV, so I actually get to see all the picture in picture, but there's still times where nothing's going on in the arena. So they'll just show like the AEW Dynamite logo for like 4 minutes and then it'll come back. But there was a time where I could hear Tony Chimmel work in the crowd during it. And so it was that, oh, Oklahoma City, so great, best town ever. Who wants us to come back? And then the crowd would cheer. And then they go, I said, who wants us to come back? So I got to hear that. And then I got to see, I don't know if you guys, did you see Tony Khan introducing JR for the main event?
I did not.
So I did, and I don't think I was supposed to, because he came out and said exactly what he did at Portland. He was like, oh, we'll be coming back. We'll be coming back to Oklahoma City. Now let's have the Hall of Famer, JR, Jim Ross. And then Jim Ross came out. So that was my production issues for the night. But again, they weren't that bad. If anything, I got more of the show than I didn't.
I mean, they can kind of chalk anything up to the Devil Dumpling Gang, can't they?
They're in the production set. Like, oh, it wasn't us. It was the Devil Dumpling Gang. Oopsie poopsie. It's like that one week where they were like 6 seconds behind censoring Adam Copeland. So he just dropped an F-bomb on live television and they didn't censor it at all. And so it's like, oops, it wasn't AEW. It was the devil.
Yeah. So just dude sitting in the production truck with the mask on, like, one of us isn't supposed to be here, but I don't know.
Someone's got to censor this. This is live television.
Yeah. But yeah, they have a built-in scapegoat now for any future problems. Yeah. So yeah, how did it go? If Jay White won, then they'd have to go into the three-way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
mean, there's no way he was going to win, is there? Stay tuned.
Who knows?
Ooh. So yeah, cool. After that, we get a little recap of Collision. Danielson beat Brody King. His eye just got destroyed, looked like hamburger. Kingston beat Garcia. Garcia was made into a star. Even Kingston was impressed. Claudio beat Andrade with that cheap atomic low blow, which I kind of like. That kept things interesting in the tournament. So yeah, I'm all for it. After that, we get Chris Jericho addressing the Kenny Omega situation. He says Kenny Omega is in the hospital with diverticulitis. He's out indefinitely. Even though the Golden Jets opportunity to become AEW tag champs is affected, the most important thing is Kenny's health. I agree with that 1,000%. He says when Kenny's back, the Golden Jets will resume. And Chris Jericho does Kenny's catchphrase, and he also kind of inadvertently got a sympathy chant for Kenny Omega, which he really kind of didn't want to do, it appeared. But yeah, so yeah, I'm wishing Kenny nothing but a quick recovery. Yeah, this could, be pretty detrimental to his body for one. Not to mention the AEW product. I mean, that's the least of our worries. But yeah, hopefully he can get better, get back. Speaking of getting better and getting back, CJ Perry with that. Do you see the picture of her finger?
What happened? Is it broken or?
In like an infection. It started in her finger, went up her arm. She was in the hospital for like 50 hours. Got emergency surgery. Yeah, the picture looked pretty darn bad.
Must have
And
been why she
man,
wasn't on Collision, but yeah, also please get well soon. All these wrestlers. That's all I wrote down for my notes was nothing to say. Get well soon, Kenny. At least for the AEW product, I still feel like the classic's still firing on all cylinders. It's not done. Swerve has his meteoric rise, and like just because I don't really like the MJF stuff doesn't mean the crowd doesn't. So I think there's still lots of other things going around. But regardless, get well soon to those two people.
Yeah, I thought the Jericho promo was classy. It's funny whenever he sort of drops kayfabe and just kind of comes out as like regular old Chris Jericho. I'm always like, oh, he seems like a really good dude. Yeah, I thought it was a classy promo, and he did right by Kenny and did a really good job.
Mhm. Love listening to Jericho in interviews or whenever he does he tells stories. He tells them like a comedian. Like he's so entertaining. Like no wonder this veteran is so entertaining on the mic. Who'd have thunk?
but yeah, after Jericho, we get a Continental Classic Gold League match. The only two men with 0 points in the tournament. Something's got to give. Uh, yeah, neither man can win the tournament, but yeah, this is more for kind of honor than anything. Their last match was Jay Briscoe's tribute match after his untimely passing over the summer. Uh, let's see, Jay Lethal asks Mark Briscoe to chop him. Uh, he slaps Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe smiles and finally chops him. Uh, God, then they exchange so many chops. Gosh, man. Uh, we get a really beautiful cartwheel drop kick from Jay Lethal to Mark Briscoe. Missile drop kick to Jay Lethal for a 1 count. We get a both men struggle to suplex. Lethal ends up getting the suplex. Then we get a tope suicida from Jay Lethal to Mark Briscoe on the outside. Jay Lethal does the Fargo strut on the apron, goes for another tope suicida, but Mark Briscoe suplexes Jay Lethal and hits the Nestea plunge. Mark Briscoe uses a chair to dive on the outside on Jay Lethal. I kind of like the ref interaction he had. He's like, the ref's like, all right, it's all right, go ahead. um, yeah, Jay Lethal hit a elbow drop for 2. Uh, oh yeah, at one point after the chair dive, Mark Briscoe grabs a hat off of one of the fans, get some AE dub chants after that. And at that moment, like that kind of like that's the spirit of AEW. Like I love how they immediately started chanting AEW, like after a big, like sick move that you're super entertained by, you get this cool like moment. Like that's what AEW is all about. And I feel like they got to be working towards getting to their original goal. I think they're doing that right now. So, uh, we get Mark Briscoe doing a Fisherman's Buster for 2.999. Death Valley Driver from Mark Briscoe to Jay Lethal. Mark Briscoe goes for the Froggy Bow, but Lethal gets his knees up. Jay Lethal hits a J Driller on Mark Briscoe. Oh, what a dick move
What a
for a 2
heel!
count. Yeah. Mark Briscoe does a burning hammer to Jay Lethal, then finally hits a J Driller in the tournament for the win. Standing ovation, crowd loved it. Great match. They shake hands after it. Man, whoo. Yeah, what a match. That's all I got to say. God.
I
Yeah,
think Oh, go ahead, Chad.
Oh yeah, no, those two have such great chemistry. Like that match right after his brother's unfortunate passing, was clearly meant a lot to both of them, and them carrying it on. And I feel like they had a talk backstage, and it was like, we got to try to steal the show tonight. Like there's a lot of good matches, and I think in some ways they kind of did. It was a great match. I was Jay Lethal, not always my favorite wrestler, but he's always a really good wrestler. I thought he killed it. He looks so good. And Mark, like he was smiling like him when Lethal slapped him and kind of got him to rise to the challenge. That smile he had, and Mark Briscoe always looks like he's having fun. Like he genuinely like seems to enjoy being there. I loved watching him mess with the crowd, put that dude's hat on. Like, man, it makes you want to be like front row to a show just because, like, oh, dude, it looks so cool. But yeah, for me, I think hard to say, but I think it kind of for me it was the match of the night. I thought it was great. What do you think, Chandler?
I would agree with that. I'd even go a little step further. So I was going to go on a diatribe here. There's so many matches we've seen. Most of them have been great or at least fine. There hasn't been a single bad match in this classic so far. But what matches will actually stick with you? What matches will actually you'll remember from this? And I'm thinking for me personally, I'll probably remember like Danielson Kingston. I really liked Kingston Garcia because I thought Garcia looked great. And then like the energy of Swerve and Mox, like all of these fantastic matches. I think I'll remember this match too. Because it doesn't matter. It's just the two losers. These guys didn't get any points, but it still was a lot of fun. And like you said, they had something to prove. They were like, look, we're both down on points, but we might get back into this next year. I know they didn't say that, but that's the story they've been telling is like, just because you're out doesn't mean there's not next year to think about, right? You got to think about any points you can get whatsoever. And so, like, man, it was great to see Jay Lethal go so hard. And Mark Briscoe finally hit that stupid J driller. Like, we're done. We're not done, but it was really satisfying. And then that Dem Boys chant at the beginning, like, gosh, if you're not planning on doing something with Briscoe after this, please, please plan anything. Like, even if it's just winning a Ring of Honor title, like, that's something. Highlight him. He's great.
An international title on him.
I could be convinced of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Rocky Romero is going to win it. That's what I feel.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, after that banger of a match, we get word that MJF has been inducted in the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. Pretty cool. Saw him talking to who's the owner of the Patriots, uh, whoever that guy is.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, cool stuff.
I just wrote
After
good for
that,
MJF. I was kind of thinking like it's really I know he is a huge star in AEW and all that, but I was just thinking from my WWE brain, it was nice to see an AEW wrestler like recognized so highly. Like it was also, he's just as important for this organization. I thought that was pretty cool. So I wanted to.
it's a pretty big deal. After that, we get a Wardlow video package. He says, "This, this has always been a battle between good and evil, and the and Max, the clock is ticking. We are getting closer and closer to your world ending. We've seen you run, we've seen you cry, we've seen you weak, and soon the world will see you broken. Max, the payment for your sin cannot be delayed any longer, and I will be the one to bring the devil to his knees." Um, yeah, I kind of tried to like pick out any clues out of that. Doesn't really reveal a whole lot. Like clearly he's in the devil dumpling gang. Yeah, it'll happen eventually.
I don't know if it was just me. I kind of got a feeling that Wardlow isn't interested in titles. He's just interested in hurting MJF. So this pitch I have of Joe winning the title at World's End may happen because that's a way to protect the injured MJF is you just have Wardlow powerbomb him 10 times and he pins him and walks away. Like, it's kind of a crappy main event, but it's how you protect everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, after the Wardlow video package, we get Samoa Joe in the ring, addressing the whole MJF, Adam Page, Devil situation. He says, Oklahoma City, I am Samoa Joe. He is seeking answers. Last week, he was asking the right questions, but not from the right people. He says Roderick Strong had a good point. There's no footage of MJF getting attacked. Uh, he was gingerly laid out in the back. He calls out MJF. MJF comes out. MJF asked if he's accusing him of being the devil. MJF recalls Samoa Joe saying he would protect MJF. And quote, uh, from henceforth, you are my property. Uh, a chant of No Show Joe starts erupting in the crowd out of nowhere, right? MJF didn't start that, did he?
Nope.
Um, cool. Organic chant. Uh, he says Samoa Joe doesn't care as much about his property or cares as much about his property as he does his diet. MJF has accusations of his own towards Samoa Joe. Then all of a sudden, they're surrounded by dumplings around the ring. Or actually, MJF says when Samoa Joe was surrounded by dumplings, they didn't lay a finger on him. And why is he waiting for World's End when he can end his world right now before they can get fighting? A ton of dumplings show up, storm the ring. MJF and Samoa Joe take them all out. More dumplings surround the ring. Uh, the second batch of dumplings are clearly the core group. uh, the lights go out. The devil shows up on the big screen. On the big screen, the following words appear. Where can you go? Who can you trust? Next week, will you attempt a challenge for your Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship? Are you a hero, Max? And both men accept. We're going to get another redo of that match that never happened, I guess. So
Thank goodness. I've been waiting for this rematch. Now, I don't know about you guys. That was an awful segment. Like the Joe and MJF stuff was fine where they were talking. I liked MJF calling him Joey Samoe. But then when like 20 of the Devil Dumpling gang ran out, I kind of just was like, oh, this is over. Like, why is there 100 of them now? And they still just won. And then they surrounded the ring and nothing happened. So I wrote in my notes, is Danhausen the devil? And we're just not supposed to take this seriously? Because I'm kind of at a loss. And it's like, oh no, they're challenging for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Like, I still don't care. So I think this week is officially the week where I'm over this story. Like, I've not been a fan of it, but I've been letting it play out. This is I'm done with it. I'm just waiting for the match at World's End.
Yeah, earlier in the day, John Silver tweeted out, so that's where our creepers went. I thought that was pretty funny because, yeah, it was like, what, first or second episode of AEW that they did a similar thing with their faction. I also loved towards when they went to accept Samoa Joe yelled, "We already beat his boys' asses." Kind of cracks me up a little.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, it's kind of weird for me. I'm really into the devil storyline when they're like accusing someone, I really enjoy watching wrestle. Like, oh, Swerve, you're the devil. Hangman, you're the devil. I'm like into that, but anything involved with seeing the Devil Dumpling Gang do things, I'm not into at all. So like I'm torn.
I think that's fair because whenever we typically see someone accuse them, it's just MJF and Adam Page backstage, and they're having like a really good back and forth, and they're throwing barbs out. And so at that point, it's really not like, is Hangman Adam Page the devil? It's when will Page feud with MJF for the title? Like that's kind of what they're dangling in my mind. So I think that's why people really like it, and I really like it because the Swerve stuff this episode was great, and the Hangman stuff the last couple episodes were both great. Like I like what they're building for, but again, when they actually get to the Devil Dumpling Gang, my interest just tanks. But a, a certain megastar coming out next saved the show, so we'll get to that.
Um yeah, yeah. But before we get to that, go ahead and leave a comment in our comment section about how you feel about the Devil Dumpling storyline, the whole Devil Gang and MJF. Who do you think it is? Uh, Even if you think it's the most ridiculous guess ever, let us know. And yeah, if you have any questions too, go ahead and ask them in the comments, and we will definitely address them during the show, probably at the end. I think that'd be a really fun thing to do too. So yeah, comment, like, and yeah, I know a lot of you out there probably aren't subscribed. Yeah, hit that button too. It's free, it's easy, and we appreciate your support. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, after that, we get Renee Paquette backstage with Orange Cassidy, Chris Statlander, Trent, and Rocky Romero. He didn't have the eye patch on. I kind of bummed me out.
Yeah, I didn't
Uh,
recognize him actually. And I was like, is that him?
uh, Rocky Romero talks about losing his CMLL belt, but wants a quote new international opportunity, and he wants to bring gold around his pretty little waist. Orange Cassidy says, "Okay, fine, I'll see you Friday, Rocky." So yeah, we'll get a little Rampage, Rocky Romero versus Orange Cassidy. Uh, how do you feel about that, Chandler?
Funny enough, I wasn't thinking about this segment. I was thinking about next segment. I completely forgot about this segment. I mean, I've been
Just another
pretty
Rampage.
I've been pretty outspoken of like, what was the point of OC winning at a Full Gear if he's just going to be on Rampage for the next couple of weeks? And again, like he fought Keith David on Collision, but other than that, he's been Rampage King. So I'm not going to watch
I
it,
mean,
but maybe Rocky will win. Who knows?
It's funny for me during that segment, I couldn't stop watching Statlander. Something about her though, like the way she's tweaked her look or how she holds herself. I was like, man, she just like comes off as a really big star to me now, and I don't know why, but I don't know, just it's like I've always like really been into her, but like lately I was like, damn, she like looks bigger or meaner. I don't know. Uh,
dude,
yeah, give me more
the
Statlander,
chain,
please. Yeah, give me more Statlander.
I'm sure the street
the
fight helped. That all like when you go through a tough match like that, it always raises the stock of the wrestler. Like I wasn't the biggest Statlander fan before, but I liked her a bit more after it. So I can at least attend to that.
Yeah, my favorite Statlander moment before all that was her first return when she was hiding in the claw machine for during the arcade match. That shit was great.
Arcade match. What?
Miro and Kip Sabian versus best friends.
Okay.
In an arcade match, and Statlander was hiding in one of those claw machines. It was kind of ridiculous and kind of awesome.
All right. I'll take it. I haven't seen it. That sounds fun.
Yeah, Miro's gimmick when he debuted was like he was called the best man, but he was a gamer, right, Chad?
Yeah, yeah.
It made no sense. It was awful.
It did not.
Well, he started out as a gamer. Now he's a misogynist. I mean, once a gamer, always a gamer. This gimmick through and
Ooh,
through.
take that,
Ooh,
take that,
Yeah.
neckbeards.
throwing barbs at gamers as if I'm not one. Don't look back here. Don't look. Don't look.
Uh, anyway, yeah, after Orange Cassidy, we get Saraya versus Riho, and we are privileged to have Tony Storm again on commentary. My gosh, please give me more of this. Uh, she says Taz is her favorite landlord because he's the duplex machine. I lost it. Lost my mind when that happened. Anyone around my home must have thought I was going crazy. Uh, but yeah, pretty quick match. It didn't go too terribly long. Not too terribly eventful either. Uh, Riho ended up picking up the win. Early on, Riho did her little smooth bridge out while being pinned maneuver. Saraya hid behind a security after Riho did some like three tiaras on the floor on the outside. We get a 619 Saraya from Riho. Uh, Tony calls Riho rambunctious. uh, we get a kick from Saraya to Riho's stomach, and Saraya goes for a finisher, but Riho's able to get a Northern Light suplex, and Riho does her stomps to Saraya for the win. Yeah, I don't know. Riho, her finisher isn't very impactful to me, so it doesn't really resonate very well. Soraya's finisher is brutal and pretty tough looking, but yeah, I mean, Riho's cool. She's a great entertainer. Uh, but yeah, I think she could probably benefit from a new, fresh, like brutal finisher. Uh, I don't know. What do you think, Chad?
Yeah, I'd love to see her do a submission. I think that'd be more realistic because, like, I think if a larger person did her finisher, it would probably look a little more brutal. But she looks like she weighs like 80 pounds. Like, she's amazing what she does. She actually looks rather ferocious, like, while she's fighting. In that match, I kept waiting for Saraya to have her big turnaround comeback moment, and Riho. But then all of a sudden, it was just like it just kind of match just kind of stopped. And you're right; it really didn't feel like a finisher. I think maybe do that move and then turn it into a submission at the end, like do something like the Rings of Saturn or something would be pretty dope. But yeah, for me it was weird because yeah, I was like, okay, the comeback's gonna come in. Oh no, it's over. Oh, okay. But the Tony Storm kind of carried that whole segment for me. I was just laughing the whole time, and there was just kind of wrestling happening in the background. That I also wrote 619 Booyaka because she did the 619.
Yeah, I didn't write it down, but I was watching. I was like, oh, she had a 619, and they called it something completely different. And I was like, oh, I am sorry, I'm mistaken. It's not a 619. But I tried really hard to take notes about the match, but I couldn't because I was just so entertained by Tony Storm. So here was some stuff I noticed. Of course, you already had the human duplex machine. I had to go back and like listen to that again. I there's a joke right now about tipping your landlords, and that really tickles me because I've recently had to deal with renting, and I don't really deal with the landlord, but it's just funny, this whole joke. And so the fact that she's calling him out for it, I just loved it. There was a bit during the match where I think Tony Schiavone was just explaining something, and Tony Storm just cut him off and went, "We'll be right back after these picture promos and picture in picture." And it just cut back to her, and she was posing, and they were like, "Oh, well, we're going to commercial. And then again, she just cut Tony off and she went, when Sting isn't there, you really don't have anything to say. So she is so harsh on Tony Schiavone. And like, it makes me feel bad for Schiavone, but because it's Storm, I just think it's so entertaining. And I was just kind of thinking, like, Luther's great because you probably want like a silent stoic, but could do a little funny physical comedy. Like he's perfect for what role they want. But my gosh, they need to put Kevin Kelly on the Dynamite commentary panel and have Taz run around with Tony Storm and be her manager for a bit. Those two chemistry is so off the wall. Like it's so good. So I think that's what I would do to kind of take this up a notch. Or maybe if Tony Storm loses the title and we're like, okay, we're going to go full blown silly with this because she's not holding the top women's title in our division anymore. Put Taz on her with her. Like, it'll be so entertaining. And then the match is fine. Again, I think I said it last week. I'm glad Riho won because I haven't seen her in a main event pay-per-view style match. I mean, she's not going to main event, but you know what I'm saying? In a big title match at a pay-per-view. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, Saraya nearly landed on her head, but that was it.
Yeah, that Northern Lights is pretty tight.
I feel like once a week, I'm always like, but I mean, she looked fine. She didn't hit it, so.
But yeah, actually, after Riho wins, Luther carries Tony Storm to the ring, and Tony Storm has opera glasses, which I popped hard for. Riho does a 619 to Tony Storm, but then none other than Mariah May comes out for the rescue and hits Riho with the title, and that was a really good title shot. Comparing it to Nick Wayne's mom and Adam Copeland, this was like professional looking. Yeah, looked great. Tony Storm with her funny faces is just too much.
Here's
Yeah,
a little fantasy booking, and I just thought of this right now, but like, see what you guys think. So they're obviously telling this story of the jealous fan Mariah May with Tony Storm, but like for me, they're telling it a lot quicker than I thought they would. Like I feel like we would have a little bit more of Mariah May like coming around with Tony Storm. She's already like ignoring her, already like not paying her any depth. So maybe Mariah May is like getting close with Tony Storm, learning how this silly, timeless Tony Storm wrestles, and they're building up to Mariah May's first opponent being Tony Storm. And maybe she just clobbers her, and that kind of saves, because there are a lot of people that are like, this isn't working for me. Why is this gimmick having the top world title? And I think those people are kind of valid. Like, despite the fact that I like this, it is a little silly. So maybe this is how you build up a little bit back of the women's division. You just have Mariah May clobber Tony Storm, and she's like, here I am. I'm going to have a big title reign. Thoughts?
yeah. That makes the most sense. Yeah,
Somebody's really got to hire you as a booker. I really want to see some of your shows.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I doubt I would do it that well, because I would just be like, all right, has Samoa Joe won yet? Oh, it's been 500 matches in a row. He should win a 500 first. Like, come on.
Yeah, I keep telling myself I need to watch a Mariah May match and figure out what we're dealing with here. But I'm really liking the dynamic with her being the jealous, fangirl, and because you can see her little facial expressions when Tony Storm ignores her, turns her down for this or that, and like it's coming. So and like the fact that she's carrying around the belt, like she already like looks great with the belt. So yeah, should be fun. She'll have that belt at some point.
Just something I was thinking about, because this was like the first time where Tony Storm has really ignored Mariah May, and like Mariah May was not happy about it. She's like, hey, I just saved you and you're walking away. You're just leaving me. You're not even acknowledging me. So we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see when we get there.
And I feel too like everything on AEW right now that isn't Continental Classic is almost like super goofy. Like they're like trying to balance that out, I feel right now. Are you getting that kind of sense at all? Like the Continental Classic is a serious like sports tournament. So everything else they're doing can be a little, extra playful, goofy, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about like what feuds are going on right now, like the Julia Hart, Sky Black, Abaddon, Thunder Rosa. I wouldn't call that silly, but it also hasn't been that intense. It also hasn't been going on for that long. You have the FTR and House of Black rivalry, which I mean, I don't think it has
Yeah,
been. If it's been silly, it's not supposed to be silly. You
yeah.
have the Golden Jackson, Ricky Starks, which is on hold, but that was silly. So that's definitely. And then of course you have Devil Dumpling Gang. You got the Tony Storm stuff. I can see that. Maybe just trying different stuff out. What do you think, Chad?
Maybe not things are extra silly, they're extra sports entertaining,
Yeah,
maybe
that's a
is
good
how I
way to
should have
put
put
it.
that.
Yeah, I think AEW's kind of always tried to give you the entire buffet of wrestling styles. So yeah, I feel like that might be kind of very extreme versions of the scale, and it definitely that is kind of felt. Uh,
Well,
but
even people watch AEW, they still like sports entertainment. So
yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, but cool, yeah, we're gonna get Tony Storm and Riho at World's End for that women's AEW World Championship. Um, after that, we get a segment that I really, really didn't like. Tony Schiavone basically read Christian's promo off of a piece of paper. Uh, I really didn't see the value in that at all. It was kind of funny, like Tony Schiavone making fun of himself through the promo, through Christian Cage's, words. But yeah, I don't know. Christian will be back in San Antonio on Collision. Uh, a lot of the same old kind of stuff. But yeah, d-
Yeah,
did you feel the same way? Like, I
I
don't
I
think that
was
needed to happen.
I was entertained by it. It was only 2 minutes, you know. I like some of the stuff. Like Tony Schiavone basically said, like, "Oh, you fans suck," and the fans started booing, and he went, "I apologize." So I like Tony Schiavone's little bit there. And then at the end, after he did the promo, they played Christian's music, even though he wasn't there. He didn't say anything. So I think they were leaning into that, like Christian's too good for this. He's not going to be here. So
Yeah.
I can see where you are at, Dave, where it wasn't needed, but I thought it was fine. I thought it was funny.
that's actually one of my high points. There were many. Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. Tony Schiavone does put out so well. Like he sold that for me, and like the wording, like Christian clearly did write that. It wasn't just like I thought it was well done. It made me, it cracked me up. I thought it was great. But yet again, it's the wrestling smorgasbord. Yeah, there's something for everyone.
I like it when we have just a left field, completely different viewpoint on something. I think that's funny.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Uh,
Like Tony sold it. Like he just looks so pissed off and put out about doing it, but he did it anyways because
He's a
Christian.
professional.
Yeah,
He's been in this industry for 20 years or 30 years or however long he's been in it. So I have faith in the Siobhan.
yeah. Um,
plus Sting wasn't
yeah,
there.
we'll
What
get,
else was he gonna do?
yeah. But yeah, we'll get Christian back on Collision in San Antonio. After that, we get a camera backstage, MJF and Samoa Joe arguing about uh having MJF's back and whatnot. MJF walks away and finds a black devil dumpling mask on the ground in front of the Mogul Embassy locker room. Uh-oh. MJF knocks on the door. Prince Nana answers. MJF grabs Prince Nana. Uh, Swerve Strickland comes out of the room. Swerve says MJF has been ducking him in AEW. MJF brought up that they used to ride together when they were in the Indies. MJF says Swerve is not on his level. Swerve calls MJF the best chauffeur he's ever had. Swerve brings up Regal and the WWE tryout. And ever since, MJF's been a whiny bitch. Swerve warns MJF about uh, getting hung with a chain. Um, MJF says, "I'm your world champion, kid." Really, really great line that really stuck out to me. Pull those. What did I write here? Pull those hand-me-down Flavor Flav grills out of your mouth when you're talking to me. MJF accuses Swerve of being the devil, kind of connects the dots with Hangman and Swerve wanting to be AEW champion. MJF says he's the big bad wolf, and if he feels like it, he can blow Swerve's house down. And then while he's at it, he'll break both of Swerve's arms, so he always swerves when he drives. Swerve denies being the devil. Samoa Joe walks up and says they have business elsewhere. Great segment. I love it. That was a cool way to kind of bring in Swerve in the world title picture. Like that solidified it. MJF even brought up like every interviewer he can tell he wants the world title. Um, yeah, he's been doing that for a few weeks now, and we finally got the real catalyst to get him into that picture. So yeah, I love that they have history too. I wonder if there's anything, well, I'm sure there is on YouTube of them doing something. So yeah, that should be really great. I'm loving this feud more than anything devil related. If the devil wasn't in it, this would be a lot better, I think. But yeah, bring it on. Swerve World Champion. I want it.
Yeah, well, I think it's like that Hangman thing where as long as you're just you're displaying that idea of, hey, we could do Hangman Page versus MJF, or hey, we could do Swerve versus MJF for the title. I'm interested in both of that. I think my favorite line in the whole thing, you didn't say it. Swerve mentioned MJF's tryout with Regal that he failed and emails and blah blah blah. And Swerve just looked at him and said, "You do tryouts, I sign contracts." So, ooh, Swerve actually made it to NXT and all that. But then I kind of like had a thought where I was like, but you still got fired? Like, that is kind of an odd burn to be like, ooh, I made it in, but then still got fired. But it was also like just Vince being stupid because like Shawn Michaels and Triple H were like, okay, we're gonna make a faction, basically the Mobile Embassy, but not scary, but like a WWE. Um, we'll have the Mogul Embassy, but all of this is just to build Swerve, to make Swerve look good. And then he got to the main roster and they were like, hey, Top Dollar, you're the star of Hit Row, not Swerve. So, the guy who just got released and couldn't make it over the top rope was going to be the star of Hit Row instead of Swerve. So that's just interesting. But this was great. And then at the very, very end, as Nana was pulling him back in it, he was like, "We need to talk about Collision last week." So it's basically official, gang. It's Keith Lee versus Swerve. I bet it's going to happen at World's End.
Yeah, hopefully, they can have their blow up, and MJF can get to the other side of this devil stuff. then maybe 2024 they could just have those two feud for like a good chunk of the year. That would be amazing. Like throw Adam Page into the mix, do like because all three of those guys have amazing chemistry. Like I could just watch that as an episodic TV for probably months and months. Uh, so yeah, hopefully I'm thinking that'll hopefully be the feud of 2024 would be my guess. How about you, Dave? What do you think?
Yeah, like the untapped potential available from that feud, uh, yeah, endless. Uh, yeah, we got to get Keith Lee and Swerve out of the way. Uh, which, hate to say it, Keith Lee will not be coming out on top in that match. Uh, I can't see that being the deal. What about you, Chandler?
What if all of this has been to build Keith Lee? What if I'm on your page, Dave, where I think 100% Swerve will win, and this will just be a good big win for Swerve. But what if all of this was to build Keith Lee back up? Could you imagine? Or Tony Khan just was like,
Clever.
I'm bored of Swerve. I want to see what Keith Lee can do. Just as Keith Lee win. Could you imagine?
Yeah,
People
3
would
months from
riot.
now, Swerve's winning like the ROH TV title.
Woo! He barely beat Kyle Fletcher. Let's go. Shout out to Fletcher for winning a title. I want to put that out there, but
He got new ring gear too.
good for him.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to see where that all leads. After that, we get a nice little impromptu Roderick Strong and Commander match. Roderick Strong kind of hinted at this on Collision, said Commander was going to be his new victim. Uh, Roderick Strong keeps Commander grounded. He doesn't want to let him do any high flying shenanigans. Commander backflips into like a superhero pose, but Roderick Strong just comes up and knees him in the face. uh, we get a backbreaker to Commander. Then Roderick Strong tries to rip off Commander's mask. Commander's back is hurting from all the backbreakers. Commander does a Phoenix Splash to Roderick Strong for a 2 count. The Kingdom pull Roderick Strong out of the ring, but Commander moonsaults on all 3 men. But Roderick ends up taking the win with the end of Heartache. Uh, yeah, every match I see Roderick Strong in, I'm more and more intrigued, and I'm becoming more and more of a fan of Roderick Strong every week too. So yeah, freaking backbreaker after backbreaker. Love to see it. Uh, yeah, how do you guys feel about Roderick Strong?
I thought he looked much stronger in this match than the Hangman match. They had a really good chemistry. Uh, this was more of the Strong I've been hoping to see. He looked, crisp, tough, precise. Like I love how like calculated everything he does looks. Uh, yeah, that jumping knee as the counter to the aerial attack was pretty dope, and the his finisher, he got that extra rotation on him and actually caught him in the front. That was amazing. Yeah, I was really into this. Then of course finishes up, throws the neck brace back on. All in all, yeah, I thought it was great. His little promo at the end there, my wife was cracking up sitting there listening to him on the couch. So that's always a good sign when she's giggling at what someone's saying. What do you think, Chandler?
I thought it was fine. It wasn't a bad match, but I guess with these Commander matches, I never see him winning, so I don't really get invested in them because I think the one time I've seen him win, correct me if I'm wrong, but the one time I've seen him win, it was a tag team and Penta won that match. And it was against the JAS guys. So it's not like he really beat anyone that was like, whoa, crazy. So I think they just have Commander in as a sub for Ray Fenix until he's fully healed and back from injury. But the match was fine. They said Commander was 25. Holy crap! This dude is insane for 25. Like I keep every time they bring out a young wrestler, they're like, "Oh, he's like 18 and he can do a 450, like standing, like just on the ground." I throw up. I can't imagine that. So, but yeah, I liked the bit at the end where they started putting up the signs, and it's all MJF is the devil. So this is their kind of them spreading their propaganda, and those came back for the main event. So we'll get to that.
Ooh, by the way, you just spoke of waiting for Phoenix to get cleared. He was supposed to be at Roseland 7, but he will not be ready for that. He was going to fight, what's his name? Samurai del Sol or Kalisto. Um, so they've
Oh,
replaced him with Leo Rush.
What?
Dude,
oh,
that is going to be off the hook.
is okay?
Woo! We're like
Is
3 weeks away.
Leo Rush? Leo Rush was in WWE, right? He was
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley's manager. Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay.
He
That's
is,
how
It's an
he is a
AEW
little
briefly
pinball
too.
of a, yeah.
I know he was more so in AEW, but I couldn't think of him in AEW. I only thought of his WWE stuff.
Yeah, he had some
Unfortunately.
pretty
Nothing
crack
memorable.
in on NXT too. He's quite fantastic. He's like the way he like just changes direction on a like it's pretty amazing.
That's
Very
January 6th, right? Or 7th?
fifth.
Yeah.
5th?
Yeah,
Okay, what
very,
time
very,
is it?
very satisfying. I do not remember.
Okay. We'll
Although
Say
see.
stay tuned on the
6,
channel because
maybe.
I do plan on hopefully doing at least a quick review on that show.
I was
Oh yeah,
thinking,
absolutely.
I don't wanna promise it, but maybe I'll try to do a vlog.
Ooh,
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I kind of want to maybe get some footage of the line and us like in line or going in a little and something, throw it together.
Mhm.
Yeah. Should
yeah.
be should be fun. I can't
Maybe
can't
try to
wait,
interview
man.
some
That
nutcases after the show too. What'd you guys think?
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, like
And it's cool.
some of the fans there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool at the Roseland, the like merch tables, like you actually can just go down there and like the wrestlers are just there, like at the
Ooh.
table. So maybe we can get a like if you're not listening to Grapple-Sauce, you're an idiot or something like that. But yeah, should be great. I'm really looking forward to you, Chandler, having your first prestige prestige cherry poppin'.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while since I've been to real local wrestling. I watched a couple Wrestle Sport, if you guys have ever heard of that promotion. Um, I'm trying to think of anyone. So I saw young Darby Allin there before
Damn.
AEW. So that was pretty
What?
cool. I saw you remember Chris Masters and Mason Ryan? The
Yeah.
first show I went to, they were the main event. And then the second show I went to, I don't remember anyone except for a guy. I think his name is Justin Hammer or Hammerstone or something like that. Like, I
Oh
think
yeah, he's MLW.
I was gonna say at least on the indies, I think that guy's a pretty big deal. So I got to see him. He was pretty damn good. It's always crazy, not to crap on the indie wrestlers, but you can always tell when it's like, here's the indie wrestler, here's the guy who's about to be picked up by a big promotion, just hasn't been snagged yet. And so Hammerstone was one of them, but if he's hasn't been picked up yet, I wonder why.
Yeah. But yeah, uh, ready for Prestige. Should be a really great night. And yeah, we'll kind of do a little recap. We'll figure out something for our audience to relay to them what we experienced. So yeah, but moving on Dynamite, we get a recap of collision matches coming up, and boy, oh boy, we are getting a lot of matches on Collision. Uh, we get Julia Hart and Sky Black versus Thunder Rosa and Abaddon. Can't wait for that match. We're beginning the Keith Lee uh, Rampage to Swerve with Keith Lee versus Brian Cage. We get Action Andretti and Top Flight versus The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. We're going to get a final match for both men in the tournament, Claudio versus Brian Danielson. Same thing for Brody King, Garcia, and Andrade and Kingston. I think out of the last three Continental Classic Blue League matches, I think I'm looking forward to Andrade Kingston the most. I think that'll have the most drama. Yeah, I think that'll be the one.
I'm
Brody
looking.
King is gonna
Oh,
hurt Garcia. He's taking that. Danielson is beating Claudio.
see, I don't know why I feel this. I think Garcia's gonna beat Brody. I feel it in my gut because
Ooh,
I think they're having this trio or this three-way for the Gold League. I think they're gonna keep the Blue League as like cut and dry as possible. So I think Danielson will win, and I think Kingston will win, which will put those two in the finals. And if Garcia beats King, it spoils him, so he can't. So I think they'll tell an absolutely brilliant David and Goliath story. That's my big bold prediction for Collision, and that's why that's my most anticipated match. Just because I don't know why I think Garcia is going to win it.
yeah,
I
that'd
kind of
be a
hope you're
really
right.
great story. That'd be a great storytelling. Yeah. And Andrade's got to lose so he can face Miro at World's End. uh, yeah. So after that, we get our main event of the night, Continental Classic Gold League match. Jay White with 9 points versus John Moxley with 12 points. Good to have Jim back. Good old Jim Ross. Uh, right off the bat, Jay White kind of stalls, gets out of the ring, wastes some time. Moxley ends up getting Jay White in a rear naked choke immediately. Hammer and anvil elbows to Jay White. Really nice pile driver to White. Moxley slams Jay White into the timekeeper's table. Back body drop to Jay White on the stage for Moxley. They meander their way back to the ring. Jay White clips John Moxley's leg when they're at the turnbuckle. Moxley's leg is definitely hurt from that. The ref checks on him, but Jay White knocks Moxley off the apron. Uh, Jay White gets a Muda lock applied to John Moxley. Um, really loud chops to Moxley's back. Moxley starts to get mad and fired up. He ends up stomping Jay White. Moxley chops Jay White's back on the top turnbuckle and bites Jay White's head. Then we get a really beautiful superplex. John Moxley dives on Jay White on the outside. Uh, John Moxley's knee is definitely hurt at this point. I wrote down Jay White's mouth is foaming at this point. Uh, Jay White, uh, let's see. Uh, mm, something about Jay White nails. Uh, I can't read my writing. Uh, oh, yeah.
Got too excited.
Jay White
Mhm.
baits and switches the ref with a chair and
Oh yeah,
nails Mox with another chair. Uh, John Moxley ends up beating the 10 count at 9. Jay White goes for the Blade Runner, but Moxley reverses into a paradigm shift for 2. Moxley knees Jay White in the head for a 2 count, and then Moxley elbows and then gives a cutter to Jay White. We get a sleeper suplex and a Uranagi to John Moxley for 2. Kiwi Crusher for a 2 count to John Moxley. Moxley fights out of the Blade Runner. Big Lariat to Jay White. Then we get a Blade Runner clean win for Jay White. Really, really nicely done. Like, that was a hard fought match, and that really upped Jay White's stock in my book. That really made him uh, look like a main eventer for sure. So yeah, great match. The like everything that Moxley had, Jay White had something to come back with, and vice versa. Um, yeah, it was a really even match. More so than I thought it would be. Yeah, really loved it. Great main event, great match. Yeah, loving the tournament.
Yeah, it was awesome. I love how Mox was hot out of the right out of the gate, no selling White, hitting those the hammer and anvil strikes. Then like White just kind of kept finding a way to stay in it, then eventually take control. Like I feel like he really like leveled up to John Moxley's league. Now my Hulu didn't take into account the overrun, so it actually so I was watching that it just flipped over to Young Sheldon. So
Ah!
so I literally here in my notes says show's over, lol, Mox wins. Then I actually looked it up on YouTube because I was like, I just figured Mox won. I'm gonna go to bed. I was like, holy yes, except I didn't say yes. White effing won, except I didn't say effing. I did not see that coming at all. I was very shocked, also very satisfied. Then him when Swerve comes out at the end doing the dance, then just kicking Mox a few more times for giggles. I was like, dude, this is how you make a star. Like another one. Like they're just churning them out because of this thing. Also, I had a question I wanted to pose to you guys. How do you elevate Swerve more? Have him beat Mox? Nah, bro. Have him beat Mox and White. Stack them up like Roman Reigns.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. That is such a that pack 'em, stack 'em, and pin 'em is so
Yeah.
cool. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Cool.
this was a great match. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm a Jay White apologist. I think he is fantastic. I think I'm loving him. Putting him in this tournament was a great shout. And I didn't think a trio was a possibility. I didn't think we'd ever get a triple threat. So the fact that it's my 3 favorites to win in the Gold League, all getting a triple threat, hell yeah, I'll take that. And you can always protect Swerve because you'll either have Mox pin White or White pin Mox, and Swerve lost, but he still didn't get pinned, and he can fight Lee at World's End. Um, yeah, I think my favorite part, just that immediate, like insane pile driver right at the first like minute. And then there was another spot where Jay White like threw Mox onto the stairs and the ref went out and he just went, Jesus, Jesus. I love it when the refs add their input on these matches and they're like, you guys are going too far, but I'm not gonna do anything, but you're too far, Jay White. So and then the clean finish. Man, they're protecting that Blade Runner. I don't think anyone's kicked out of
Mhm.
it, at least since I've been watching. So, yeah, protected finishers are cool because that means whenever someone does kick out of it, it's huge. So,
Think anyone's ever going to kick out of
Yeah.
the one-winged angel?
oh, yeah, you're going to have like one more person kick out of it. I don't know who, but
Uh, yeah, great tournament. Good episode. I yeah, like I always say, I watch it twice to, really make sure I have good notes. But every time I do that rewatch, man, like I think I'm more into it than I was live. You just, you see a little more, you catch another thing you didn't see before, and yeah, like I love watching AEW wrestling. It's very, very satisfying. Um, yeah, this is cool. I'm really looking forward to World's End too. Like that is just around the corner.
Yeah,
Uh,
what, like just a week ago, I was kind of texting you guys, like, I don't know, like I'd be dropping $50 for this thing if we weren't reviewing it now. I'm like, okay, now I'm hooked. Good job.
it's shaping
They
up.
got me in the end.
It's shaping up. That's what they do, man. AEW is all about the weak build and the over deliver on the
Yeah.
pay per view.
Well, I keep on
So
saying, I think the most anticipated match, we still don't know the two competitors in it. So
yeah, true. Yeah, that tournament is really what I want to see. Yeah.
we're about to enter the last rounds. Any final predictions? I predict it's going to be Mox and Kingston, with Kingston going over. What do you two think?
Ooh.
Ooh, are they gonna finally? That'll be the way
I don't know
they work
why.
that out.
Like, it just kind of, as soon as Kingston beat Claudio, I was like, oh, he's gonna come back and win the whole thing. So I think Kingston will have this triumphant win over Brian Danielson, and he'll have a triumphant win over Moxley. That's what I feel. Because that way, you built all these stars, but you can keep Eddie Kingston doing exactly whatever he was doing before this tournament. But now he has an AEW belt that he can bring around to wherever he's going or whatever he's doing.
That would tug on my feels too, because then it'd tie back into him looking at Renee. Then I'm gonna fix this because Mox has been kind of a jerk. Yeah, no, man, I need that now. See, you need to book stuff.
I'm not that they're laying the seeds. I just think they're doing it well. Of like, Mox is this big heel. He's probably the biggest heel in the whole tournament, and he's on the other side. That's a great person for someone to beat. And then, like, you think of someone on the blue side, like, who do I want to win? Garcia. Well, he's not coming back. So I just think Kingston makes the most sense of this big underdog babyface story. And it's been
You
entertaining.
tell one you tell one hell of a story that way, and you free up Swerve for Keith Lee, and you free up Andrade for Miro. Everything's solved. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. um, cool. Yeah, gentlemen. Uh, any interesting wrestling news?
We got to do highs and
Floating
lows before
around?
then. Just sneak them in real
Oh
quick.
yeah,
I'll get
yeah.
mine
Let's do
first.
that.
My high point was the crowd, because I don't think I had one thing that was like better than everything else. I was kind of struggling to pick my high point. Like, I can't give it to Tony Storm 2 weeks in a row. I give it to Tony Storm like every week. And then, like, no match was like so much better than anything else on the card. A lot of good matches. So I'm going to shout out the crowd. They really made
Yeah.
this. Again, I said it at the beginning. They made this episode must see. My low point, I would just say the Devil Dumpling Gang specifically. I kind of like, again, there was like 20 jobbers that ran out, and they all had silly masks, and they just like threw them all out of the ring. So I'm over it. But what about you two?
Um. Well, yeah. My low point. I agree. Devil Dumpling Gang. All the unemployed Dark Order creepers were like, "Ooh, we got a job."
Tony Khan's like,
So
here's a
yeah,
$5. Can you go run out and jump out of the ring?
yeah, um, yeah. Like they created a new problem. Like now, either they have to explain why there are 20 of them, or
You think they're
even
gonna
worse,
explain that?
Just no sell
even
it.
worse, they never do,
Yeah, they never
and
will.
it makes no sense.
Yeah, yeah.
That's even worse. So,
Well, that's what they're doing. So
but
May-
my high point, uh, Tony Storm all the way.
Maybe it'll maybe it'll be the Dark Order is the behind the devil all along.
Oh, ooh, Chad. Wow. Okay.
Or maybe it's just Dalton Castle has a lot of boys. So many
More
boys.
boys. I didn't even think that was a
That's
possibility. I keep on forgetting our Dalton Castle pitch.
that's the dark horse of theories right there.
I'll be the biggest AEW super fan if it's Dalton Castle. But like you just know if they reveal it to be him, that crowd's gonna be dead. They're gonna be like, who is that? Like what? It's that guy? Like
Not me, not
I was
me.
expecting CM Punk, but and then
Right.
we're just like, "Ooh, boys, 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 boys.
You gotta stock up on Purina Boy. Ciao.
I'm running low. I'm running low. I'm embarrassed how low I'm on that.
Yeah. So my
Uh,
low point. Oh, sorry.
I'll go.
Did you do it? Okay. Yeah, my low point, obviously, the creepers. That was really the only thing I could pick out in the whole show, and I still thought it was kind of funny. I didn't really care that much, but all in all, the whole show I thought was pretty stellar. My high point, I'm actually gonna go throw down the Jay Lethal match. I thought they tried to steal the show, and man, it's a tough show. There was so much good wrestling, but I think their case could be made that they pretty darn near succeeded. It was a really good match for me. So good job, Jay Lethal and Mark Briscoe. You did awesome.
Yeah. I want Jay Lethal to turn face. They did shake hands after it, so and they did hint at him like realizing he doesn't need Jeff Jarrett and all them. So
As,
I think we're well on the way to Jay Lethal being a face.
as long as this means they get to see Jeff Jarrett on TV, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Sure.
Whatever way that happens, I want that.
Maybe the next feud will be Jeff Jarrett against Black Machismo.
Dude,
Take
please,
all my money.
please. Yeah, Chandler, you need to look into that a little bit. Pretty good stuff. Uh, cool. Yeah. All right. We got our highs and lows out of the way. Now we can talk about a little wrestling news. Anything good, gentlemen?
I hate to say it, I haven't heard much. I haven't seen much. WWE was quiet this week. There was no Pepsi Man. I guess the big news for WWE is they're getting Christmas off. So that's nice.
Yeah, pretty quiet
The
time of
only
year, huh?
the only thing I got is what do you think about the possibility of Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount merging? That could throw all of our wrestling into turmoil.
Well, because
I'm having like AEW Time Warner flashback scary feelings with WCW.
yeah, I hope not. I hope they can see that like wrestling is in a better spot than it was in 2001. Funny enough, like AEW is in a better spot than WCW was in 2001. So hopefully they won't cut it. But again, you look into like the story of why WCW was cut. They wanted to cut WCW the entire time. Like no one on Turner wanted it except for Ted Turner. And it took Ted Turner being ousted from power for them to go, "Oh, now we can cancel WCW." So, I don't think that they would just cancel it brazenly, but they might drop it off if this whole CM Punk and WWE nonsense kind of takes over. But I mean, I hope AEW just continues. I hope they get a good TV slot, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of the big news I saw.
Yeah, I hear Monet going to AEW is kind of dead in the water.
Yeah.
Where would you guys like to see her end up?
Teaming with Fatu and Impact
Yeah,
or
Impact
TNA
Women's
soon to
Division,
be.
pretty damn stacked. That'd be great to see.
I
Sammy Callahan landed in TNA too. Did you hear that?
I thought he was a TNA guy. Where was he initially?
No, I lied. He's an MLW. He just signed to MLW.
Okay. I was like, I
That,
thought he
He was a
was.
free agent.
Okay. Well,
that's
that
where when Matthew Riddell is landing it as well.
Oh, okay.
people were potentially speculating that Sammy Callahan was the devil. So I guess that kind of like only internet people were, but it was like, oh, hey, maybe you introduced this new guy and it's Sammy Callahan. And but I guess not. I guess this isn't news, but I just kind of wanted to hear what you guys think about it. I keep on seeing reports, not reports, but a lot of insiders think Jericho might be going back to WWE at the end of his next contract. You guys, I wouldn't think so. I think he's got too much stock in AEW. But do you guys see that happening?
I mean, I think he could hold out to get that Hall of Fame induction till he's actually retired. Um, yeah, I just don't really put a lot of stock in that. I don't want to believe that.
I think it'd be
um,
as much as he's, had more of a career in WWE, I just think it'd be odd, I think
he's
as much as I've been critical on Jericho, he is still good. And I think the best place he'll be demonstrated is AEW. So I think he's just uh showcased more than I would like, is how I would put it. But I think it would be worse in WWE. I think he would be like a comedy guy and they'd bring him around like once a year. Like Jericho's better than that. I just don't think he's as good as what he's doing now.
Yeah,
But
no, the best thing Jericho ever did was go away, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, he would feel himself start to get stale, and then he would like go on tour with Fozzy or something for a few months, reinvent himself, and come back. He's consistently been on AEW since day one, and maybe he just needs to go on the Jericho cruise, not be on TV for a few months, and then come back with maybe a tweak to his character, whatever. Because he did that WWE often, and he was always like, "Oh wow, I'm super happy he's back, and he's really interesting." Then he'd start to get stale, and he'd disappear again.
I could even see like Jericho takes his 1 or 2 year hiatus. You sneak him into the WWE Hall of Fame then, because then it's easy. Like, oh, he should 100% be a WWE Hall of Famer. Like, he main evented a Mania. He won the Undisputed Championship. All that nonsense. He 100% deserves to be in. So he takes this year or two long hiatus. You get him in, and then you get like that's it. That's the last time we see Jericho in WWE. You could even do that with Bryan Danielson because he ends his like full-time wrestling this coming up year or whatever. And so you just have him go on this lax schedule, but then you just throw him into the Hall of Fame like, Daniel Bryan, yes, yes, yes. And then he goes back to AEW. So that's at least me. I know that Hall of Fame doesn't really matter, but I would still like to see these guys get recognized on a grand stage. And it's not like they won't get recognized at AEW, but there's just to me, there's something when you see a name go up against all those like San Martino and Gagne and Hogan and Austin, like all these all timers. It's just nice to see them all together in one spot.
kind of feel like, from what I've read, that Danielson and Jericho have too much influence with Tony Khan. They're kind of like his right hand man. Like from what I understand, like I think they've got a really cush like spot to where they're guaranteed to be part of the backstage magic for, forever. So I think that would be it'd be tempting for them to get that Hall of Fame love, but I think they could play a pretty crucial role for Tony Khan. They're basically his like John Laurinaitis and the other
Well,
guy.
well, to be fair, they have done stuff like this before,
To be
specifically for the Hall of
fair.
Fame. Because like the same year Ric Flair went in with the Horsemen, he was in TNA. So they inducted the Horsemen with Ric Flair while he was working for
Okay.
TNA. So again, all I'm
Tony
asking,
Khan is going to let them do it.
yeah.
He's going to, hey, you go to this ceremony, no big deal. He might try to get something in return. Like,
Oh, again, well, Christian went down and I think he was nominated for their Hall of Fame, or he put Sting in their Hall of Fame. Like, and Christian was working for WWE. So you have Cody Rhodes go down and shake MJF's hand on an AEW, something. I don't know. Like, you do a little swapsies. You have Jade Cargill go stare down someone. You have Lexus King with all his registered Lex offenders. Where we at, baby? I'm sorry, I'm just gonna derail my thought because I can't get over that. That's the best thing I've ever heard. And it's so terrible. It makes me like Lexus King. Have you heard about Lexus King in NXT?
no.
Oh,
I mean,
apparently he's terrible. I saw this one clip
Oh,
where like he has sunglasses and he takes them off and he's trying to put them in his like pocket, like a shirt
no,
pocket
he
without
can't do
looking.
it.
And he's like, because it's not a real pocket. And then he's like, oh well, whatever. Like mid promo. You guys should look up some Lexus King and see how your boy is doing, because it's just funny seeing some of these AEW talents where like Cody Rhodes is a megastar, Jade Cargill's a megastar they're building up, and Lexus King is in NXT.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. But yeah, they can do some kind of trade, have something cool happen. Um, yeah, would they work out with Mickey James with Impact to be in the Rumble? Wasn't she the Impact Women's Champion?
I don't think they did anything other than they said the Impact Women's Champion is in the Rumble. I think that's enough, honestly. But I don't think anyone went down to Impact. And then again, you had another one where it happened, I think, this year, where Shinsuke Nakamura went over and wrestled Great Muta and Noah because he wanted him in his retirement tour. And then they got to put Muta in the Hall of Fame. So, tit for tat.
Yeah. Yeah, I think something can be worked out. Uh, I'd like to think there could be a cordial relationship, but agreement made between the two companies. We're not going to get like a super show or anything, but
I would love that, but I like, as much as I
yeah,
like the fantasy book that, let's just keep this in reality here, where those are going to be real men with real egos and telling MJF, the AEW champ, to be pinned by Roman Reigns, the WWE champ. Like, I get not wanting to deal with any of that. All I'm saying is, you have Cody Rhodes go to Dynamite, say, All In's coming up, and then you have Brian Danielson be like, hey guys, yes, 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 thanks for inducting me. Go watch Collision.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, I
We'll
think
send
that'll be
Cody
the
Rhodes, but
extent.
only as Stardust.
Ah, could you? I would. That'd be the best case. No, that'd be awful.
Don't bring Brandy though.
She'd get a hero's welcome. They'd be so excited to see her.
Only
Oof.
if they threw Dan Lambert in.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of miss him.
Tony Khan,
But
what are you
yeah,
doing? Bring him back.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've heard anything else too gripping going on right now in professional wrestling. Uh, yeah, I think that might about do it. Um, yeah, great show, great episode of Dynamite. Collision should be really good too. So yeah, based off the matches announced. Cool. All right. Well, I think that will about do it. Thank you everyone out there for listening to Grapple-Sauce. Don't forget to subscribe. That'll really help out our channel. And give us a comment and a like. They're all free to do. So yeah, thank you all out there. Stay safe, happy holidays, and have a good one. Bye.
Peace.
Thanks for watching. By the way, we won't have an official Collision review. We won't have a long-term podcast.